Sonia and Sacha, for real.
Thank you for listening to BRIMBANK Live on Live FM. This is the Sonia and Sacha for Real show. We're back for our favourite day of the week. Sacha, how you going, my friend?
I am good. Guess what we got? We got merch.
We
got merch. For those people who can see us, you can see that I have a Sonia and Sacha hoodie on with our little logo, a little microphone for real. And we've got merch.
Designed by the beautiful Lizzie, our producer.
Yes, it is. We've got merch. I've never had merch before.
I know.
I'm walking around with a hoodie with your name on it, Sonia. Your name on it.
And I feel very privileged.
I did the school pickup with a hoodie with your name on it.
Did people ask you? Did they ask you?
One person asked me.
Not one.
Not one person.
So merchandise effective.
Although I was actually on a call with someone today and they did say, "What are you wearing?" And I said, there you go. But anyway, they did.
All right.
What are you
it's only the first day out. That's good. That's nice. Somebody's asked you.
First day out. So we've got merch. You got merch. I got merch. Anyone wants to buy our merch, they can actually order merch from us. I mean, I don't know, but just, if you so desperately want our name on you, then we'll get it for you. In fact, right, we love you so much, we'll buy it for you. We should do giveaways.
100% do a giveaway.
Oh, my God.
Look, we've just done it. All right, well, that's it. We'll do a giveaway. The best comment on our promo for the show this week gets a Sonia and Sacha merch.
Merch. Oh, I do like that. I'm going to put an order in. Okay, there you go. Now,
been a very big week in our lives, and something really sad happened. Michael Gudinski passed away. Can you believe this? I was shocked by that because although I sort of wasn't a little bit, because I saw him lately and he wasn't looking the best. I thought maybe something's going on that they're not telling us here. But wow, what an outpouring of emotion from some of the mega artists around the world. And I've been just watching the interviews during the week. His business partner, Chuggy, they call him.
Chuggy?
They started Frontier Touring Company together, back in the day, back in the 70s. And, they signed people like the Police for tours over here and, just mega artists. Billy Joel called to say how sad he was. And all of like these people just all around the world have been seriously affected. And what I loved about the stories is that he was this kind of guy who would just pick up the phone and go, right, this is what we need to do. I need you here on this day and this is what's going to go on. And people would go, yes, no worries, Michael, we'll be there. Like when COVID hit, he did these amazing fundraisers and, concerts for people, with Kylie Minogue and all of these amazing artists. And he's just the man that picks up the phone and says, right, Kylie, I'm going to pick you up from the airport at 12 and you go and jam with me. And she's like, I'll do anything for you, Michael. So what a beautiful man and what an amazing legacy to leave. Australian music history. This guy has, was so...
do you remember?
So prevalent.
Do you remember when, we first started going to concerts and you'd get those tickets and it'd just say Michael Gudinski presents, and then you'd be going to Bon Jovi or I don't know. It was just forever these big massive names.
Yeah.
And I actually think I've had his children. I think he's got a daughter or something. I'm sure I've had some children in my seminars. Because it's just, I do recall that somebody saying that at the time. Anyway, that's all I know. Anyway, so it's very, very sad because, we're music lovers.
We are,
which is why we're on radio, because we like to talk and we like to listen to music. Music is the soul of everything. It just, I think to myself, what is the universal languages? Like literally, you could pop me into any country. You could pop me into Mars and you'd give us a bit of a tune and I reckon a little Martian would do a dance. Like music, well, it is. It's a universal language, so you just can't beat it, Maths and music, I don't know. Put us anywhere. Universal language.
Yeah, get rid of the maths one. Give us more of the music one. But you know
same.
What else we're lacking in Australia? We're lacking good quality Aussie characters that are a bit naughty and a bit edgy and a bit, straight down the line. We're
naughty.
Them. We're losing. Yeah, well, we're stepping up. We're stepping up.
Are we being naughty enough? I could be naughty, and don't you worry. I could be naughty. Just let me loose. I'll tell you. Give me half a chance.
Now, we've got a big show. Before you go on, we've got a really big show.
You do?
We've got our therapist on who's going to tell us,
well,
she's not going to tell anybody our secrets, but she's going to tell us all about voice dialogue therapy and how you can get involved and how it can really help and change your life. We've got the incredible Daniel Monge on, who is a young person who has his own, well, he's created the only hip hop chart that's recognized with all of the, Spotify, Apple Music, and all of those, streaming services. He's got another brand called Rolled Up Entertainment, and he's just done something that's never been done in Australian music history at the NBL before. He's just an incredible young person. And we've also got our mate, Donna Stolzenberg,
yes,
who runs about 17 different charities on her own. And she is the Victorian recipient of the Australian of the Year for 2021. And she is going to come on and tell us about all the work that she did with people experiencing homelessness during COVID lockdown, before and after, and all these amazing charities that she has. So what a great show. How good's
huge.
that? It's
huge. I mean,
huge.
getting a therapist on is huge enough, really. I mean, who does?
So
we
right.
need to do therapy live on air.
I know.
I don't know.
We could end up going out. All right. On that note, we better go into a break because we're going to get stuck into this big show. Sacha, you ready? Here we go.
I'm ready.
The Sonia and Sacha for Real show. It's our favorite day of the week. We love that you're listening to us. BRIMBANK Live and Live FM. We'll see you after the break.
Sonia and Sacha for Real.
You're listening to BRIMBANK Live and Live FM. This is the Sonia and Sacha for Real show, and we've got such a special guest because all of our guests are special, but this lady is phenomenal and one of the hardest workers that you'll ever meet in your life, and a very good mate of ours. Sacha, professional introduction, please.
Oh, okay. Now this one, normally, how do we get our guests? We stalk them.
Stalk them.
We did not stalk this one. We did not stalk. This one actually came to my doorstep, met her through kindergarten, which I will tell you later. But I'm going to give you this incredible resume, okay? Just pause on this one because we can't even do one of these things. And this is going to, I'm going to go for 20 minutes on just doing it. Now, this is Donna Stolzenberg. She is the proud founder of the Played Up Project, the School Project, the Melbourne Period Project, Homeless Collective, Sleeping Bags for the Homeless, and is the 2021 Victorian Australian of the Year, and also is a proud Our Nation's First People woman. Can we please give a massive round of applause for Donna Stolzenberg? Woo!
Oh my goodness.
Fantastic introduction.
I'm tired.
Well,
what do you do in your spare time other than save the world?
Oh, look, spare time is something that I haven't had for a very, very long time. I don't know what I would do with it, but I try and use it for meditation because I'm also, amongst other things, a meditation teacher. So that's what grounds me and I think helps me to be able to do all these things is that I do focus on getting a bit of meditation in every day. So I try anyway.
Oh my gosh, you are a phenomenal woman. We're so
We
proud
met
of
you
you. We're
first,
so
Donna.
proud of you.
And what a gift. Okay,
Can we
so
say
we met Donna.
congratulations?
Do you remember when we first met Donna?
Yes.
Okay. First met Donna was my oldest son was in kindergarten, and they were raising something. They were doing something about raising sleeping bags, and we went, "Oh, this is really cool." And I came back to you, Sonia, and I said, "The kindergarten is raising some sleeping bags." We took our boys out. We went to Kmart. We, loaded up our trolley full of sleeping bags, and then delivered them to Donna. And then, of course, you can't not just drop off these sleeping bags. You got to make friends with this chick, and that's how this woman came into our lives. And then since that moment, we've been able to work with you on lots of different projects that you've done. And that's been really, really exciting. And it's so exciting to have you on here because today we actually want to talk about what it's like being, Victorian Australian of the Year. But secondly, what's also been going on with COVID and the people that are sleeping rough.
Yeah, well, for the first part of your question, being Victorian Australian of the Year, I guess to describe that, I got a lot busier, but with a lot more responsibility as well, because what happened was I became that voice for the voiceless, and I have to really respect and honor that. So when I'm doing media interviews and TV, radio, that sort of thing, I have to keep in mind that I'm speaking for those who don't have a voice. And generally in mainstream media, there's been what we call poverty porn. People want the sad stories, the bad stories, and really want to get people in. And what I'm trying to do is get people to be more aware of the facts of the causes of homelessness and also the ramifications of being out there on the streets for so long. So it got a lot busier. It's been an amazing journey so far. I mean, we had our awards. It's funny where I'm actually sitting now because of COVID. Us in Victoria were all in lockdown, so the Victorian Australian of the Year, we had those awards at home. So I was literally sitting where I am now in my bedroom. So Australia's seen my bedroom. So
Oh, Donna, that's
It's
not
kind of
fair.
kinky there, Donna. It's kind of a little bit kinky, you know?
I know. And look, honestly, if you actually watch the show, it was absolute stuff up. The audio didn't work. Look, we laugh about it now, but the poor host, it was really, really tough. But it was a great experience, and I think they're going to replicate the night for us at some stage. They did say March, but yeah, it's raised the profile of the charity a lot, which has been amazing because that's what we needed. We needed the community support. We needed the public to understand about homelessness. So I'm busier than I ever thought I would be, but it's a good kind of busy. So yeah, but look, with COVID, and I was awarded Victorian Australian of the Year 2021, but it's always for the work you've done in the previous year. And Melbourne woke up to bushfires on the 1st of January. So our charity was at the front of that relief for the bushfires and all the people that were stuck on Mallacoota Beach and all everyone out in Gippsland. And then as no sooner had the fires been put out, then we got COVID, and then we're very soon into lockdown.
Yeah.
So we had to be incredibly dynamic and change the way that we operated, because we had now thousands and thousands of people come into our cohort that were never there before because of job loss, lots of casual workers. We had stranded students who needed so much. And our volunteer base was pretty well decimated because a lot of our volunteers are retired people, and they couldn't come out because of COVID. I mean, we could still volunteer, we're an essential service, but it was more about the health of our volunteers. So now we were right at the front of, the towers got locked down, and there was no warning given to people when that happened. And we had women with no sanitary items, we had babies with no formula, no nappies, and we were able to mobilize and get them to them by the next morning, rather than them having to wait for someone else to come along. So everything changed, everything flipped on its head. It was the first year that we haven't given out thousands of sleeping bags. We usually do over 2,000 sleeping bags a year to rough sleepers all around the country. But because of lockdown, especially in Melbourne, everyone was put into hotel rooms, and that was great. But because we knew that they weren't out there freezing, but it angered me so much because the government always had the money to do something about it. They always did, and they just simply chose not to. And I know that people will say, well, this is an emergency relief fund, but homelessness is an emergency. Sleeping rough is an emergency. So why were
every day that is an emergency?
Every single day, every single moment, they're so vulnerable. And the longer you stay out there on the street, the harder it is to get out of that chronic homelessness. And the government had the money to do that. And as soon as COVID came, all that money just came out and people were put into hotels. So, things changed a lot for us. But I know we kind of touched on this briefly, and I don't want to sort of tell the whole story all at once, but the people who are now back on the street again, and they've been kicked out, but nothing was done while they were in the hotels. The government had the perfect opportunity to create those wraparound services and make sure that people got that intense support that they needed while they were in lockdown. It was the perfect opportunity, and they didn't do anything about it. I think there was a large number of people who did go on to permanent housing, so that was a positive out of it. However, all of the people should have gone on to permanent housing, saying that 25-30% of those who went into the hotels ended up with permanent housing. It should have been 100%. 25-30% is too low a number to call that a victory. Way too low.
So can you just explain to us how this actually happened? So was there literally one day somebody went out on the streets and just said, hey, you come on, let's get in a hotel room? Is that how it happened? Or and then how did everybody get out? Like, did someone just knock on the door and go, right, it's time to go?
Time's up.
Like, how did you get in and how did you get out? Like, was there a way to qualify? How did that happen?
Most of the people on the street are aware of the services that are around, like the food vans and Salvation Army and the accommodation services. And what happened was, what I believe actually was that they were given a number to call, or to get in touch with any of the services. So if they happened to go to a food van, they were told then, look, there is hotel accommodation. And so it was kind of, word was passed around, and a lot of the first point of contact organisations had that information to pass on to people. Some people chose not to go, which was kind of difficult because they were then at risk of being fined for being out in, not having one of the 4 reasons to be out.
Please tell me that didn't happen. Please tell me that didn't happen.
It did. It happened to people. People in cars got fined. I don't know whether those fines are going to hold up in court, but yeah, we even in the last.
You're kidding. They would.
Yeah, sadly.
I mean, if your car is your home,
yeah,
and you're technically in it, then how can you possibly be fined for it?
Exactly. Well, look, some people in cars were getting parking fines, and they weren't parked. They weren't hurting anyone. There was no other traffic around. Everyone was gone. Everyone was in lockdown. So you know what the city was like? It was like a ghost town. So they weren't hurting anyone staying there, but people were getting fined. We actually got footage of some police officers moving along a fellow who, it sort of looks like it's around Hosier Lane, just telling him to move along. This is in the last lockdown that we had, the snap 5-day lockdown. And he's just like, where am I going to go? I haven't got anywhere to live. So there wasn't any further training or any compassion given to people. So kind of like when the towers went into lockdown, it was just this snap, all right, let's just put them into hotels and then they'll be fine. And nothing could be further from the truth. When you're experiencing homelessness, you're dealing with all sorts of trauma, and the causes of whatever put you out on the street in the first place are all still there. And you've still got that, a lot of PTSD, post-traumatic stress from around that as well. So people were, from what I can gather, because it kind of happened pretty quickly, but what they were telling us was that they were given numbers to call, and the local support services were also telling them to call a number, and then they'd be put into a hotel, front up to the hotel, and you'll be given a room. And then the street meal services, what they started to do was, instead of having their street feeds, they would make up all the food, put it into takeaway containers, and then take it to the foyers of the hotels and leave it at the foyer so the people could come down and get their food.
Oh, Donna, it's
hang on. How did they get then back onto the streets? When did they go back in the streets? You said November?
Yeah, some people started getting kicked out in about November, which was, absolutely horrific for people. And some of them were able to stay a bit longer, but they were basically just given notice, like a knock on the door. Look, the government said you've got 5 more days here and that's it. So then you're back out on the street again. And there were some people that were put into permanent housing. The Andrews government did make a huge commitment to social housing just after, and I think there is a pledge for about $5 billion to build 50,000 social housing units, complexes or houses. So we will see a bit of a decrease in people experiencing homelessness. However, if we're not looking at the root causes of homelessness, that's just going to be another futile effort, because more people will tip into homelessness. It's a catastrophic situation happening right across this country. But yeah, they pretty much just got a knock on the door and just told, well, that's it, out you go. And they just then had to leave. And adjusting from being in a hotel room to back out on the street was horrific for so many people. And walking around the streets now, it's just so different now. From pre-COVID days, it's so much worse. People are traumatized, and they had just forgotten. It was like, as soon as COVID was over, the lockdown was over, they'll just turf back onto the street, and it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And there's only so much that we can do as well. We can't house everybody. We don't have the millions needed for that. So we just try and help as much as we can.
Donna, you do some incredible work, and the financial status of our country seems to be bouncing back at a very quick rate. And so I think that everybody out there who might have some extra dollars could get involved in some of your charities. I want to read them out. Could you give me just a really quick line of what each of these organisations do for people?
Yeah, sure.
So Melbourne Period Project provides...
We provide sanitary items and toiletries to all people experiencing homelessness who are experiencing period poverty as well.
Brilliant, brilliant. School project?
School project supports the children of people experiencing homelessness who are in crisis accommodation, living on the streets or in cars. We make sure that kids have everything they need for school, as well as swimming lessons and school camp as well.
I love it. Plate Up project?
Plate Up project is designed to support people who have been experiencing homelessness to get back into work, but it also reintroduces that love of food and cooking. So people who might not have cooked for themselves for a long time, who are then going into housing, we make sure that they're excited about food and nutrition as well.
Sleeping bags for homeless?
That's kind of self-explanatory. So we get new sleeping bags. We don't use secondhand sleeping bags. We get new sleeping bags out to people who are sleeping rough. And it literally means the difference between life or death for those people who are sleeping out in the middle of a Melbourne winter. Our bags go all over the country as well.
Donna, we just are so endlessly inspired by the work that you do. You're so passionate about it. You're so selfless. Sacha and I have been involved in a lot of the work that you've done, and we do so with a full and grateful heart to be thought of, to help in any way that we possibly can. If anyone listening can spare, some help with any of those amazing, and there's more. We don't have the time to go through the rest of the projects that you have, but get onto the National Homeless Collective website. Is that correct? How do we get in contact with you?
Yeah, so it's nhcollective.org.au, and we actually did a lot of work in BRIMBANK through the lockdown as well. There were thousands of families that we supported throughout BRIMBANK, and the community centre. Oh gosh, I can't remember what it's called. the community centre. We delivered thousands of tins of formula and nappies and food and that was then distributed to our local community around here. But if people go to the website, you can have a look at the charities there. We also have a Mustang raffle at the moment, and we would desperately love for people, instead of making a donation, buy a raffle ticket. You might win a Mustang. We get the full $10. A Mustang was donated to us. So if it was awesome. Yeah. So these amazing people at Raise for Good have donated this Mustang. This was after I won the Victorian of the Year award, and we're raffling it. It was donated to raffle. It wasn't a gift. I wasn't that lucky. But we can
all have a Mustang, can't we, Sonia? I'll go you a Mustang.
I would love it, but of course I can't get a ticket. But go onto our website. The tickets are $10. It's drawn at the end of this month. Someone has to win it, and we get the full $10. And we've actually been able to secure a warehouse now as well. So we've got a warehouse in Airport West, which is fantastic because of the sale of the tickets from the Mustang. So you can really help us out by go get yourself a Mustang ticket.
Just amazing. And you know what? Our summer is finished. We're heading into autumn. It's going to start getting chilly out on the streets. And for anyone who's experiencing homelessness in Melbourne, we really need those sleeping bags and blankets and, all of the other wonderful things that you're able to give, people who are doing it rough. So Donna Stolzenberg, we love you. You're amazing. Thank you so much for being an angel in our city and across our country.
And thanks for being our friend. We feel so gifted to have you as our friend, so thank you.
Watching your journey along the years as well has been inspiring for me, because I've known you guys for so many years and seen all of the wonderful things that you've done too. So it's just so awesome to know you both.
We are so proud of you, lady. nhcollective.org.au. Donna Stolzenberg, what a champion. We love you. You're listening to BRIMBANK Live on Live FM. This is the Sonia and Sacha For Real show. We'll see you after the break.
Sonia and Sacha For Real.
You're listening to BRIMBANK Live on Live FM. This is the Sonia and Sacha For Real show. And you know what? We have had such a great show already. We've listened to the amazing Donna Zen, who happens to be the Victorian Australian of the Year. And now we are following up with somebody who's just done something that has never been done before in Australian sport. And how do we find our? We normally find our guests by what, Sash?
Stalking, but this one we didn't actually stalk. Actually, this is a non-stalking show.
Yes,
This is
I
a
know. I don't know
non-stalking
what's
show.
happened.
This is where
We
we
have some
meet
friends.
people and we go out. Do you know what, Sonia? We actually do go out. I know it sounds
I
really
don't know what
weird.
you're talking about, not me.
Or back in the day when we
Back in
used
the
to go
day.
out. Back in the day when we used to go out. And then what we do is we meet random people. Like if you're a little bit interesting, we will go up and say, talk to you, make friends with you. Not just like make friends with you and
Bring
then
you
leave
into
you.
the circle.
Exact circle of trust.
This is true.
Yeah, and so we actually met your friend, and then we've met you, and so that's how it's come about.
Let me do the proper intro. This young man is 22 years old. I mean, I don't even know how to describe that in terms of overachieving at the age of 22. Well, we're a little bit older. 23 and a half we are, yeah. He has two media brands. One is hiphopcharts.com.au and Rolling Up Entertainment, which is an amazing podcast as well, which I have been listening to in the car because I've done a few road trips and some brilliant artists and creators that he's interviewed, which I'm going to tell you all about in a minute. He shares creative stories to elevate our thoughts. He's interviewed TikTok stars like JC, who just happens to have a cool 763,000 followers on TikTok. Sacha, you should be all over him because you're a TikToker.
Don't worry, I'm a TikToker.
And has just made Australian history by bringing the very first live music to the National Basketball League right here in our hometown of Melbourne. Could you please go nuts for Daniel Monge? Woo!
My Lord, you guys are crazy. You definitely two big personalities in person, over Zoom. The same energy is still reciprocated. So it's a blessing to be on. And it's awesome to be on the other side of the interview, right?
Yes.
It's pretty surreal for me. So I'm embracing it. I love it. Thank you very much for having me.
Because
now,
I think we've actually like pulled you aside somewhere and then just started chatting to you at an event and made friends with you and have stayed connected with you.
Yeah, at the Gary Vee event.
Yes. And it's just got so much energy. And I think I really like it when you connect with like-minded people because and that's just a testimony of how other people, when they go out places, please go up to other people and make friends with them because you never know where that relationship's going to end.
Absolutely.
Most definitely. Like who knew, like at that time, 2019, I didn't have any media brand. I was literally asking Gary Vee for advice on starting and what to focus on. And then I think that was definitely a catalyst, at least for myself, moving through this whole journey over the last 1-2 years, which has been completely shape-shifting and changing of myself, which has been beautiful.
So tell us about these media brands.
Yeah, well, Rolling Up Entertainment is a brand I started after essentially being involved in the scene, going out to international shows and local gigs and realizing, wow, these artists are actually really talented. And it got to a point where I was enjoying myself so much. And I was like, okay, why am I not seeing this person online? Like, why not? This is getting to a point where this person is actually extremely talented. This group is actually extremely talented. Why haven't I heard their story? And then it got to a point of, instead of blaming media brands out there existing, I was like, okay, why don't I actually put some accountability on myself and be that person that provides that platform to showcase local talent?
It's incredible.
And that's the beginning of Rolling Up.
And hip hop
Cool
charts
name too.
every single day. You're updating the charts and showcasing.
It's a weekly charts.
Yeah, and showcasing, Australian hip hop artists, which is it's the first of its kind. It's never been done here in Australia.
That is true. Hip hop charts is the first ever official streaming charts for hip hop. Like
wow.
You have the ARIA charts, of course. The hip hop charts is the first one that's ingrained in the culture. At least from my perspective, and it has real raw data that we take from Spotify. We can't manipulate the data even if we tried. So it's awesome to have the local part as well as hip hop charts, which is a bird's eye view of who's winning from an objective level.
Yeah. And you've done this, and Rolled Up Entertainment has this podcast, which I listened to 2 of your podcasts in the car in the last couple of days. You did one with Swerve, who happens to be the boyfriend of a friend of ours, Lassie, who came on to beautiful LV from Club Yo-Yo, and various other, brilliant events that she runs around the place. But he's a DJ who's worked with some amazing people, and you just sat with him. What I love about you, Daniel, is you're 22 years old, and it sounds like you have been around for ages and you just ask, you're so natural with the questions, you get the essence out of this person, you know, like he was really opening up. And as I would imagine that he's another young person as well. And he just had these gold nuggets that he was dropping just every 5 seconds.
Big time.
So tell us about how you put all of that together.
Well, in terms of that podcast, purely I get the constant question. This is probably the most common question I get asked is, how do you get on someone at the caliber like JC, Swerve, Jordan Dennis, these people that have worked with incredibly massive people within the music industry?
Yep.
And my answer always comes back to provide value first, provide value, then ask.
Yep.
Or honestly, I wouldn't even have to ask. Sometimes it happens so naturally.
Yeah.
And that's really the nugget in itself, where if you want to be connected to someone of any level, simply ask. People were so afraid to put ourselves out there and be vulnerable. It's that fear of rejection, right?
Yes.
And yeah, that came about, also naturally.
Well, you know, they have that saying, give and you shall receive. It's not receive and you shall give. So it's really what you're saying is it's kind of marries up with that statement, is that you're just giving them something. And then when you do come forward to ask, it's a genuine, they want to give back to you because you've given them so much. And it's a great way of doing business and starting networking and building really good relationships, because then when you walk away, there's actually a genuine relationship. It hasn't just been an interview or a one-off business exchange. There's been something really good there.
Definitely. And adding on to that, it's like you attract what you are. So if you're wanting to have deep conversations, why don't you start asking those deep questions? It's very common, like people will complain about not having deep conversations, but they're not willing to be vulnerable themselves. And in the case of Swerve, for instance, he was vulnerable, therefore I was able to become vulnerable. Like when I hear your pain, I'm like, oh, I want to share some of mine with you. And that's when a connection gets built.
That's where the magic happens, isn't it? And
That's right,
can I just
definitely.
remind everybody, 22, everyone, 22, this young man is.
You guys
all right.
hype me up too much.
No. We're professional guest providers. Now, listen to me. You on the weekend did something that's never been done before in the history of the National Basketball League. I was so pumped to see this. The thing that I loved the most, apart from the fact that you had brilliant entertainers, is your faces when you walked off the court after that performance happened was just priceless. You were lit up on fire, and oh my God, I just loved it. Tell us about what happened on the weekend.
Yeah, so the NBL is currently running an NBL Cup. So for the first time in history, the National Basketball League of Australia, the biggest league of basketball in Australia, is hosting their first ever cup, aka a tournament. So they've brought every single team from Australia and New Zealand to Melbourne, to the center point of Melbourne.
Wow.
And
that's massive.
Julian, shout out to Julian from Hip Hop Charts and Modern Day Entertainment, who also manages JC. He came up with the idea a few months back to pitch the NBL live music. And the storm just blew up, right? Where the NBL was doing this. They're hosting a month long of games, 36 games. And he came to me and said, hey, Daniel, this is a vision. And I'm like, please paint it. Let's go. I'm just keen. When someone says, Daniel, I got a vision, I want to share it with you. It's like, yes, give me the juice, give me the sauce.
Yeah.
And he came to me and said, Daniel, this is what's happening with the NBL. We're going to choose the 6 biggest games and we're going to pitch the NBL live music and bring on hip hop artists. And he came to me and said, hey, who do you think would, deserve to be showcased? And instantly had ideas. I was like, this person, and listed them all off. And he's like, get it done. So I had at that time, honestly, the self-belief wasn't that big because it was such a massive thing, right? Though I really wanted it. I really, really wanted it to happen. So I messaged them instantly, simply made it happen, got those connections in, and we got the green light to bring artists on to the NBL live, which has happened before, though not at this caliber, where they've done a cup and brought on so many artists over consecutive weeks. And like you were saying, walking off center court, being in the front seat, it was nuts. Even hearing the news that it was a green light, I cried. I genuinely cried when I got the news
Yeah.
Good.
that
so you
Julian
should.
said, "Hey, like this is actually going through. We're making this happen," and the NBL approved it. The Music Network ended up writing a write up for us, which is a massive magazine for Australian music, which was
Yep.
nuts, and everything has just now rolled into where we are now, where we're having artists perform over the next few weeks, which is beautiful.
So tell us who's coming up. We had Jordan Astra for the first show, and he was and DJ'd by with Swerve. So who else we've got coming?
Yeah, so this Saturday, the 6th of March, we have Jordan Dennis with Jujo Beats, which will be phenomenal. Then we have JC the day following on the 7th of March on the Sunday.
Amazing.
And yeah, those two back to back, like personally for me, they've been, the thing is like, they've been massive role models for me. Now to be able to work with them,
Yeah.
like just to imagine somebody that you've just admired so much for everything they do and who they are and their entire being, to then work so closely with them, to do podcasts with them, to then have them have like essentially your cousin come and perform is nuts, because
Yeah, of
it's
course.
just, it's like everything I've ever wanted and more. And now it's truly like a manifestation of what I wanted at the start.
So where does that mean that you now want to go in the future? Like, because obviously this has just opened up your scope bigger than you thought possible. So that means that your scope is now even bigger. Where do you see yourself in, say, 3, 4, 5 years' time?
Well, in terms of hip hop charts, definitely being the hub for Australian hip hop. Like that's definitely already done. Like in terms of music podcasts for Australia, like biggest, that's already done. Now it's more so, okay, who do I become in the process of that, right? Like, yes, there are these massive goals that I want to achieve, but it's more, what's more important in that is who I become as Daniel in that process, and things that I get to learn, because I get to bring on whoever I want to learn from, right? That's the thing with the podcast. It's in my control, which is the beauty of it, of not being a part of a large media corporation where they say you can only have on X guests and only ask X questions and has to be filtered through this. It's like, no, actually, I can ask any caliber of question and dive into any specific area that the artist or creative is willing to open up to. So in terms, no, go on, Sash. Go on,
No,
Sash.
well, I'm just thinking about like, how did you go with COVID and business and being motivated? Because it seemed like, you know, while the rest of the world was slowing down, you were speeding up. How did you do that? How did you mentally put that together for you?
2020 was the best year of my life. But before we jump into that, I
Ooh.
feel like Sonia's got a, I feel like Sonia's got a question.
No. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Definitely best year of my life, hands down. It literally forced people to reflect, right? Like if you never took the time out of your day to reflect on your life, this was it. You were forced into it. There was never no, I don't have time for X. Right? Now you have all the time in the world. Okay, now what's your excuse? I never had time to make content. I never had time to go to the gym and work out. Like now you got time. You got all the time in the world. The world and universe has literally provided you with the things you've been asking for. Now what are you going to do with it? So within that period, I defined my values for the first time in life. And that, like when I mean define values, I never thought that they were, I always thought there was just like, oh yeah, if someone has values, like company values, value, mission, goals. But to define some for myself was asking myself questions such as, who do I value most in life? What are their attributes? Who is my best friend? Who are my close friends? What are their attributes? If I could have one thing in the click of my hands, what would that be in terms of personality or attribute or value? What are my parents? What do they value? Who do I respect most in the world? Who do they value? Instead of trying to come up with these things on my own, ask those questions. And that's what led to me defining my values in no order of like self-awareness, perspective, happiness, and gratitude. And of course, service to others. So adding,
You have
adding
to
them,
take a breath. That was beautiful. Just beautiful. Don't you just feel like you're just at peace when you're listening to that, Sonia?
And the other thing is that you are so ahead of the game, Daniel. You're so ahead of the game. If you've got that now at 22, then you're on fire for the
It's
rest
beautiful.
of it.
It's beautiful to have that affirmation. I feel like a lot of young people definitely have that lack of self-belief and doubt. I feel like everyone has a little bit of doubt, myself included. I'm not a rarity. Like everybody has it. But going back to in terms of 2020 being the best year, like I developed all these habits, whether it was working out every day, whether it was reading every day, whether it was listening to a few podcasts every single day, developing these daily habits that compounded over time to now lead into this, making content online, getting over that fear, making TikTok videos that ended up blowing up, which was awesome.
Hang on,
That's
can we
so
follow you
great.
on TikTok?
Yeah, we need to follow.
Yeah.
All right.
Because
And we need to
I
get
love
every
TikTok.
we need to get every way possible that we can contact you, because we want to spread the word about how incredible you are. So how do people listen to the podcast first up? Give us that.
At Rolling Up Entertainment everywhere, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, everywhere.
Okay. How do we have a look at the hip hop charts? What's that site?
hiphopcharts.com.au.
How do we follow you on TikTok and on Insta?
On Insta, daniel.monge.
Yeah.
MONGE. And TikTok, same?
Rolling Up Entertainment. Like you're rolling
Entertainment.
up and being entertained.
Right.
Daniel
I've got
Monge,
you.
gosh, you are in the family and you're never leaving. That's the whole,
We're
you're
keeping
in
you
the
forever.
circle. You're our family now. And we thought that from the first time we met you. You're a very special young person. And thank you so much for being on our show today. We appreciate you. We love
Thank you. It is a blessing. You
Thank
guys
you.
have, it's an utmost of respect I have for you guys, and it's a genuine energy and it's pure love. So that's what resonates with me.
Oh, I love
and blessings to you, and look out for the live entertainment that's happening at NBL in the next few weeks. And that is our boy Daniel who put that whole thing together. I'm so proud of you. You're listening to BRIMBANK Live on Live FM. This is the Sonia and Sacha For Real show. We've been with Daniel Monge, and we will see you after the break.
Sonia and Sacha, For Real.
Thank you for listening to BRIMBANK Live on Live FM. This is the Sonia and Sacha For Real show, and our next guest is going to delve into our minds and tell us how we can be better people by being in control of all of our personalities. Sounds strange? It's not. Sash, who have we got?
Okay. Do you know how we're called Sonia and Sacha For Real?
Yes.
I don't think that this session or this segment really could get any more for real.
Yes,
because so we all know that we've talked about the fact that we're all in therapy. And then when I say we're all, that's not just us and our, outside bodies. It's all the personalities inside of ourselves that each get a session as well. We actually thought that we would bring, because we're encouraging other people to learn about themselves and navigate their own personalities, we thought that we would bring our very own therapist on our radio show, and we just thought we would introduce Annie Slaughter, who is our therapist and a voice dialogue facilitator. Hey, Annie, thank you for coming on our show.
Hello, ladies. How are you today?
Oh, we're fantastic, Annie.
That's
We're
how
so
we
happy
always
that you're
start.
here. We love to know a little bit about what you do, because you do remedial massage. You're a Reiki master. That just makes me think that you should be in flowing robes and people should be, at your feet. And our personal voice dialogue therapy person. So tell us what voice dialogue therapy is.
Okay. Voice dialogue, it was kind of evolved probably back in the late 70s by some therapists in California, and they subtitle it The Psychology of Cells. And it's based on the idea that we're who we think we are, but we've also got different facets to our nature and in our personality, and they're subtly different. And so voice dialogue goes, your personalities are more different than you might think. And so, for example, here's a really easy one. When we go to work, we put on our work hat, don't we? Mm-hmm. And when we walk into work, we're in work mode, efficiency, we've got our mind in that groove. And that's very different from when we finish work and we're on our way home. We're making a bit of a transition. And by the time we get home, we're actually in a different mode. Now, you two, because you're mums, you'll be in mum mode. And that's really different from your work personas. Like your work personas are really fun oriented, and
The mums one
have a
aren't
really
fun
good
oriented.
time. Your mum mode is not fun oriented, but it's a little bit more responsibility. And also, if the kids are mucking up, you got to try and calm them down. There's a whole load of responsibility to mum mode. And then there's now this is a mode you don't get to use very much these days.
I'm worried what you're going to say there, Annie. I'm worried there. What is
And
it?
that's,
There's a few modes I'm not
beach
using
mode.
very much.
You know, the
Which
kind of
one?
place you go into when you go on holidays. And it
Oh,
often takes people a couple of days to get into their holiday mode because they're used to being in go, go, go mode.
yes, of course. So I love the analogy
Everyone
that you
wears different hats. And
Yes.
that might sound really simplistic, but when you get down to it, those different parts of us have got different agendas. And sometimes they're pulling us very strongly in different directions. Now, if you're if your life has a lot of responsibility and you're a person that actually likes to have quite a lot of fun, but life gets a bit too heavy and overly responsible, well, the part of you that likes to have fun might start acting up and acting out and actually getting you into trouble. A really good analogy that another voice dialogue facilitator developed is who's driving your bus? And it's like, okay, whoever's in the driver's seat, often it's the most responsible part of you, you know, or like I've got to be organised, I've got to run my life well, you know, that really responsible, organised part. And there's all other parts of you on the bus. So it might have put the more carefree, the more irresponsible part right down the back of the bus and doesn't actually want it anywhere near the driver's seat. In fact, it might have even tried to throw the poor thing off the bus. But, you know, too much responsibility, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And if it's all work and no play, well, irresponsible might actually try to make a bid for taking over because there's good reasons to actually have downtime. It unwinds your nervous system. It actually helps you rest. It helps you recuperate. If you just work all the time, there's a whole bunch of things that can start happening. You can get overweight. You can get unfit. You can work yourself so hard that your immune system gets depressed and you start catching every cold that's going around. So we need to be a bit more balanced. We need to be a balanced whole. Does that make sense? Did that sound
100%.
good?
Totally does.
So for those people who don't know, my mum was a voice dialogue facilitator and she's passed away now, but we've been really in touch with the voices within us and all the different parts of our personality for many, many years. So my mum was doing it, more than 20 or so years. So really in touch with that. And so as one of the things that the reason you're in our lives, Annie, is because we really have missed that opportunity to be able to speak to those parts of ourselves that we're very aware of. And so, you came into our lives that we're able to, reach out and speak to those little things. And it's even though we're talking about these personalities that we tend to know they're very surface personalities, like the difference between the mum and the work one. Below that, it's almost like there's sub-personality under sub-personality, like even within the workplace, you'd kind of go, there's the person that is in the meeting versus the person that's getting up and doing the presentation, that's the person that's creating the within there's more and more and more. And so it's actually about giving a voice to all of those parts of ourselves. When I think of driving the bus, I look in my mind, I think about it as Sacha being self-esteem, the one knowing the most about Sacha as the driving of the bus. But I guess where I want to be in control of myself is that Sacha then chooses which personality comes in and out. And so rather than it taking control. So, for example, if mum comes in and I'm the angry mum, let's say, because my kids have been really hard work and gets angry, and or the work part that can't be bothered doing that I can actually answer it and say, hey, I want to access this part of myself because I know myself well enough to be able to access all the parts of myself, rather than it just taking control of me. And I guess that's the best part about seeking therapy and obviously being within a voice dialogue facilitator, because I think that the greatest gift that you can give yourself, anybody, is to get to know yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Also, that everyday, work, organisational self, they can have a bad opinion of certain other aspects of you, and they can actually want to exclude certain aspects of self, but we actually need all of us. And sometimes those little forgotten parts, or the parts that don't get much airplay, are actually very necessary for us to have a happy and balanced life, and they can have gifts. Very often they're carrying certain gifts that and talents that are not going to come into play in our life in other ways. I mean, where would your work life be if the two of you, if your responsible selves suppressed all your happy, fun-loving personality girls? You guys wouldn't be able to do what you do in your work life. You guys have so much fun and you're such live wires. But if responsible mum was driving your bus all the time, she might go, you know what? The kids need more of your attention. I think you should get rid of that stupid work stuff and just pay attention to the kids. That's what responsible mums do. And then the two of you would be ripping your hair out because your creative selves are really quite strong. You couldn't actually do it. So in fact, for your creative selves to actually go, you know what, responsible mum, we need a look in as well. They're quite strong. They won't actually let your kind of parent self just rule the roost, and nor should they. You need all aspects of your being. So voice dialogue, as you get to know deeper parts of yourself, because lots of them, they don't see light of day that much. Sometimes we've what's called disowned them. Here's a good example. Someone who grows up in a family where one or both of the parents were angry all the time, like really angry all the time. They might grow up either learning to be a yeller like their parents, or actually going, I hate anger. Anger's horrible. My parents were angry with me all the time. It was awful. I am never going to be angry. I'm going to be as kind as I can be. And they grow up, and what are they? They're a pushover because they've disowned their anger. They've disowned their ability to say no. They've identified with their nicey nice, their Mrs. Nice, and they're trying to get through life and make everything work and be okay by being kind and nice, which are beautiful qualities. But a person that's just nice without a little bit of an ability, even if they don't show it that much, but a bit of an ability to set a boundary, say no, kick a little bit of ass, you need that power to actually, have a bit of
Annie, do you know what? You are the perfect person to be on the Sonia and Sacha For Real show, because that's exactly what you are. And it's just a pleasure to sit in your room and open up our whole lives to you, because you go in there and you walk with such light feet, and you really are. You hold us in your arms, and you really are there to take care of us. Anybody who wants to know about voice dialogue therapy and to get a great therapist, Annie, how do we get in contact with you?
Look, you guys could put my mobile number up if you want. I'll say it out loud. It is 0414 742 728.
Brilliant.
That's 0414742728.
Oh.
It's in public domain. Because I'm also a massage therapist, if you care to just put my name in a search engine, it will come up with me in the context of massage therapy. So my
Brilliant.
full name is Annie Slaughter. That's pretty funny. That's like murder and mayhem, you know, like yeah.
You're brilliant, Annie. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you
on our
so
show
much.
today. We appreciate you.
We'll see you next
Okay.
week. And that means in the room. See you next week.
Yeah, we need a whole lot. We need a whole
I'll
other
see
session
you guys
with you.
and all yourselves next week.
Yes, bring it on. Okay.
You're
Okay.
amazing, Annie
Bye-bye,
Slaughter. Thank you so
everyone.
much for being with us today. You're listening to BRIMBANK Live on Live FM. We've had a great show today. Thanks, Sash. I love hanging out with you. And
Love hanging
we'll
out
see
with
you
you
all
too.
next week on the Sonia and Sacha For Real show, BRIMBANK Live on Live FM.
Sonia and Sacha, for real.